What's up guys, my name is Curtis Haaland. I own Freehill Blades. You might follow me on Instagram. If you don't, go follow me right now. Freehill Blades, Curtis Haaland. So this is my first YouTube video and I want to show you guys how I forge an integral. So here we go, I'm going to go ahead and start that right now. We're using 3/4 W1 round stock. So first thing I'm going to do when I forge this blade is isolate the bolster and start spreading out the material for the blade. So now that I have isolated the bolster area, I'm going to go in and I'm going to forge the point and I'm going to spread the choil down past the bolster. Also, to keep the roundness of the bolster, that's what I want to keep. I want to keep the roundness of the bolster. I'm going to be using this swage block. I'm going to lay it in there and I'm going to hit the spine so that the top of the spine is flat and the choil pops down underneath it. So I'm about to demonstrate that right now. So now that I've got the choil started in the right direction, down from the bolster, now I can start spreading it. I'm going to do it by hand so those of you without a power hammer can see how I do it by hand. So now I've pulled that choil down a little bit and it's right around where I need it to be. So now I'm going to start spreading out the rest of the blade and getting the profile where I want it to be. So sometimes I'll use the horn of the anvil right here. I'll use the horn sometimes to bend the profile of the blade so that I like it. Sometimes I like a recurve, so I'll put the edge of the blade right on the horn. Sounds dangerous, but it's not super dangerous. And then you hit the front of the blade, like I'm about to demonstrate, so that it bends and curves the way I want it to. knife and I have a short amount of material for my handle. It may not look like much, but it really is. Once you start drawing it out, it's a lot more material in there you think. That 3/4 inch has a lot of steel hiding in there. So I'm going to draw that out into the thickness that I want. Then I'm going to spread it in all the different directions that I want to make the profile of the handle look like my style. So I've got my handle shaped the way I want it. I've got it about the right length that I want it. Now I just got to make sure everything's flat and make sure that everything's straight in line along the spine with the bolster, which is a very tricky thing to do when it is integral. So I'm going to be using the vise for this. Everything's pretty lined up with it as of now. Now I just got to go straighten everything out with the hammer. So it is basically lined up straight, pretty flat. Now I'm just going to, because I have this giant press right here, I'm going to straighten out this knife, make sure it's dead flat, makes it way easier to grind later. So I'm just going to take it under these dies here and just flatten it out nice and even. So I've got this integral fully finished forged. Okay, so now it's ready to profile on the grinder. I'm going to demonstrate that as well. That's the last thing I do before I put it in the oven to normalize and anneal. So here's what it looks like. Here's what the blade looks like as is before grinding. You can see it looks a little disproportionate. The blade looks a little longer than I would like for that size handle. So I might grind it down just a tiny little bit. Other than that, I really like it. I think it looks good. Okay guys, so I finished profiling this integral. It's completely forged, completely profiled, and ready to normalize and anneal. So for this steel W1, I will normalize it at 1600, which means heating it up to 1600 degrees Fahrenheit, letting it cool in still air, and then putting it back in for another normalizing cycle at 1500, and then pulling it out, letting it cool in still air. And then the spheroidized annealing cycle, that's about 1250 or 1200, and you just let it sit in there overnight. You let it sit at 1250 for about at least 30 minutes and let it cool slowly with the forge. And that puts the microstructure into sort of a sphere shape, and it makes it a lot more easy to machine as far as like drilling and milling, anything I need to do with it. Also guys, make sure you put your comments and questions below. If you're unclear about anything I did or said just now, make sure you subscribe, hit that subscribe button. I don't know when I'm going to be doing the next one, but you don't want to miss it. So hit the subscribe button so you can get those notifications. Thanks so much for watching guys. See you next time.